Greetings. Today I want to talk about hierarchy, anarchy, slavery, stuff like that. I guess you could say I'm like an anarchist or somewhat like libertarian or even classical liberal at heart. Like I had sympathies for, ideologies such as that most of my life, and I guess you could still say I have sympathies, but just looking at the way the world is difficult not to come to the conclusion that those ideas don't really work, like they don't match with reality. So instead, I don't know, I've come to the quite inescapable conclusion that humanity, like society in general, needs some sort of hierarchy. Like, they had in the feudal age, in the Middle Ages, the feudal system is one example. But even a democracy is some sort of hierarchy, even though it's counter signaling against hierarchies all the time, we are so equal and stuff, but it's still there is a president and Congress or parliament and different bureaucrats and then the military, and then there are like the taxpayers. That's how it works. So as far as I know, humanity has lived under some sort of hierarchy since time immemorial, and will continue to do so unless we become the Borg, like in Star Trek or something, or the Matrix or whatever. But until that time, I'm gonna look at hierarchy, and yeah, I grew up in a working class family and had I've hated capitalism most of my life, but that doesn't mean I'm a communist or a socialist. I had some sympathies. I certainly considered myself a leftist when I was younger, when I was a teenager and developed some sort of political ideology or a background for my thinking. I consider myself leftist, but never really a socialist or a communist. Especially not a communist. I just they don't like capitalism, and then I sort of looked into communism, should I be a communist then? But I don't know, it just seemed boring at best, and at worst, of course, it's terrible mass murder and whatever. But anyway, so I guess already when I was a teenager, even though I was working class and had sympathies for working class, but I came to the conclusion that the working classes are the oppressed working classes because they are the working classes, and it makes more sense than it sounds at first, since the working classes, they only want to be the working class. They just want more stuff, but mentally or spiritually or whatever, they want to have a 9-to-5 job, and then they want to have their bread and circuses. The vast majority of people in that class, they only want that. Of course, if they could escape from working at all, and they could just have leisure time all the time, they would prefer it. But in the end, it would be worse for them because they would just become really decadent. Because that's how I think. Because basically, the working classes, they are the slaves. They are the slave class, and it's not that slavery isn't just some white man's evil social construct that must be demolished or something. It's because pretty much, at least I don't know if Stone Age tribal societies, if they had slaves, but at least any society more developed than that basically had slaves, whether it's ancient Greece and Rome, or the Vikings, or like even like in the Middle Ages, they didn't have slaves that were called slaves really, at least not in Europe, but they have the serfs, and at least like they're basically like slaves. Like even the Finnish word for a serf is maaorja, and it means land slave. So yeah, so they basically, because I think because there is this like hierarchy inherent to human beings, and they, like the vast majority, they just want somebody to protect them and tell them what to do. And yeah, but there is like their local lord, their count or whatever, or the king, and they rejoice when they have a king that they perceive as a good person. And I think it, like when we take it to like modern times, and look at somebody like the left and the right both want like a king they like they see it as like one of the most important things. Like but I heard like just the other day somebody said that the left is supposedly like cares more about the leader, like the president, than the right wing, which sounds odd to me, because like, well, yes, the left, not only in America but like across the world, especially like also in Europe, the left loved Obama, but now that they don't have their king nigger, as he is called very endearingly, Obaba. Oops. I know how to write. Yeah, they don't have. He's not the king of the world anymore. So now the social justice warriors, they have lost their king. They don't have anybody to control them, so they are out of control, and that's basically what they want, because like they had gotten used to this idea of this like king who pretends not to be a king. And now they have Trump as their king, and they are rebelling against him because, like, deep down, I think they will settle down, and like, they will come to love Trump because he at least seems to be like a really strong leader. But like, yeah, now it's like, oh, out of Berkeley, Nazi scum, because they sort of like because they're inherently they are self-defeating, these slaves. Like on one level they know that they are like they are lower class and they are being like used by the higher classes, but then again they understand that this is the like they have this inherent understanding that this is how it's supposed to be. But now they are like in a state between like they are between states of like with Obama they were like they had these superficial freedoms, like they had this artificial sense of like, oh, we are now equal and free and stuff, but now they are losing it and they're going back to more like a authoritarian and like a old-fashioned hierarchical system. And in the end it will be better for them, but now they want to rebel against this. It's like a child who rebels against their parents. Like he wants to eat candy all the time and watch TV, don't go to sleep, and they deep down maybe they understand that I should listen to my parent, but of course they want to rebel against them. But anyway, so that's like the nature of the slaves. And I think that's why like that's the reason they have existed ever since the first kingdoms or empires were formed. It's not because like the king is evil or the feudal lords or like that. It's more like these the lower classes will always flock to a king. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, like I heard this weird claim that only the left wing, like they are more obsessed about the leader. But like, well, just look at how popular Trump is among like right wing and even not so right wing people, and like how popular Hitler was, or and yeah, oh no, I'm comparing Trump to Hitler, but anyway, like whoever, like Mussolini or like for leftists, like, you know, Mao in China, he was very popular. Like it's universal. It doesn't matter one iota if you're you know, right wing or left wing or anything. Like human beings are hierarchical by nature, and they want a strong leader, like a strong leader that represents their interests or values or whatever. And yeah, there's no difference between left and right in that sense, at least. But yeah, like why anarchism, I mentioned it in the beginning, like why it doesn't work, because like I don't really like feel like I need any king, like, you know, I don't think I have to have a king or some president on his throne to tell me like what to do, how to live myself as a decent person. And I think like a lot of like real anarchists, not like, you know, anarchists who are into it because it's cool, or, you know, they want to be so rebellious, but like anarchists who are like you know, see it as a really like philosophical position that they care about, why they believe in anarchy, because they also think like, okay, if everybody thought like me, we wouldn't need any government or king or anything like that. And I agree with that position. Like if everybody was like the, you know, decent anarchist guy over there, we wouldn't need any, you know, this structure. We wouldn't need a hierarchy. But the fact is that most people aren't like you. Like most people aren't like, you know, they aren't classical liberals at heart. They're not anarchists. They're not libertarians. Most people, they are like this. They are peasants, serfs, slaves, and a lot of people, they are also like this. They are basically warriors, who is like a, well, I don't think there's like a, they're not mentally, what, does this guy have two heads? This knight? Whatever. Mentally they are not so different. Like they also want a strong leader to tell them what to do. Like, you know, they want a strong leader to tell them who is the enemy, who they are supposed to kill, and who they're supposed to protect. And maybe like, you know, these noble, they might be like different. Like they may actually aspire to become the next king, or maybe they, if they see that their king is good, like they want to, you know, make things better. Because I'm just wondering, like in history, like, you know, I think the scientists, like, you know, when we still had, like, you know, in most countries in Europe had this kind of structure, like scientists, philosophers, whoever, I think they usually came from this class. And it's like yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it's not like that's like the only thing I think that is, you know, somewhat universal to humanity, that there's supposed to be some sort of clear hierarchy with different layers to it. Like you know, a machine, it has many different components to work. You know, you cannot say that, you know, only one part of a machine, like, you know, the car engine or something, oh, this part is more important than that part. But like, if you don't have all of the parts and they don't function together, it's gonna break. Or like, a chain, even if like, there are like 20 links to a chain, and 19 are really good, but then there's one link that sucks, then it's gonna break. So it has to work together. But anyway, I was supposed to say something. Oh yeah, now I remember. Like the nature of the hierarchy, like whether it's a medieval system or like a Greco-Roman republic or a modern democracy. Well, okay, I don't really believe in modern democracies, but I guess you can say that they have functioned somewhat. Or like a national socialist system. I don't think, because like there are some national socialists nowadays and stuff, and I don't think they're just all evil Nazis who have to be punched like these fucking bitches say. But I'm not convinced that it's another man-made ideology that is maybe it can work for a while like any other man-made ideology, but eventually it's not. There is no perfect ideology. But anyway, like the nature of the this the characteristics of the hierarchy, the characteristics that your history or social sciences teacher will tell you, they don't matter as much as I guess it's more like the people and the dynamics between the people. And if like if the people, for them, like a democracy or something, republic seems more natural than having a king and nobility and all of this, then okay, maybe it's better for them. But if they're like if they lived in the Middle Ages, they had like this very it felt natural to them to have a this structure, so it worked for them. And maybe some people think that a national socialist system will work better, and maybe for them it will, but for others certainly it won't, because there's a lot of people just get triggered when you mention the word. And I'm not a national socialist because, like I said, I don't really believe in any ideology, but it's like, yeah, sure, we should like consider all options and stuff, but I am leaving out one hierarchy, and that's communism. Because, well, it is a hierarchy, but I guess, like, I was thinking about this earlier. I think the difference between communism and other hierarchies is that in communism, you sort of eliminate this class, I think. The noble, like the intellectuals. There's only basically a king or the few, the oligarchy, and then the slaves, and I guess then you have the military. So it's basically like that is truly an oppressive system. But in any other hierarchy, I think there is like because there is some sort of like a healthy competition between, well, of course, individuals in each class, but also like they sort of the class of the nobles, the aristocracy, they prevent the king sort of from becoming a tyrant or becoming too weak, because if he becomes like a threat to them, then they get rid of him. But also the king, like if he noticed that the aristocrats are getting out of control, then he can do something about it, and also the military can do something about it. And if the peasants get unruly, of course, then everybody else will kick their ass. But yeah, I think that's why communism is such a terrible idea. That it can never work, because basically it eliminates the best element of society, like like the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia or in China. They killed all the intellectuals, the people who actually cared more about, because these people, slaves, they are, because it is their mental state. They only care about like their immediate concern. They care about food and calm and pleasure, and they only like, they understand like, okay, like they, to their extent, like they can understand like the, you know, cause and effect between like, okay, now I work and then I can have my food and my entertainment, and they don't really understand it, you know, the deeper, they don't, you know, ponder about existential philosophy, or like, you know, really the concept of right and wrong, beyond like, oh, this, you know, I shouldn't do this because it makes him feel bad, and I wouldn't want to feel bad or something. It's like, yeah, they don't. Yeah, that's how they see things. And also like the military, they are, yeah, they're loyal, they want to serve their king, and they don't usually care so much about whether he's like, I guess it makes them happier if they see that the king is good, but still they are loyal to a fault, I suppose. But I think like the, you know, the really, you know, progressive, not in the sense of being, you know, what progressives are nowadays, but like, you know, they innovate, come up with new ideas, and, you know, whether spiritually, philosophically, and scientifically, and whatever. I think it's mostly like this class. I don't know. I've ranted on long enough, so yeah, that's why. Yeah, I guess I should make a lowdown like conclusion. So yeah, anarchy won't work because human beings are wired differently. And yeah, I don't mean that like if you're born, I'm not saying it's like genetic or racial thing, like if you're born into the, you know, slave class, working class, that you are spiritually bound to, you know, being like that. I think like somebody who is born into this class can think, you know, only care about gives me that, and, you know, I think there's been plenty of examples of like, you know, nobles who only care about like their commies, their, you know, they just wanna have sex with the wenches and the handmaidens, and who give them hand jobs. So yeah, that's why communism doesn't work. They eliminate this, and anarchism, and, you know, this libertarianism and classical liberalism, they are also like different faces of the same coin. Yeah, I know it's just like a three-faced coin. It's quite cool actually. They don't work because they sort of assume like this, that human beings are inherent, like that human nature is same for all individuals or something, but that's not true. There are different like and even like in classes, you know, some people are good farmers, and some people are good craftsmen, some people are good, yeah, cooks and whatnot, and it gives you a different perspective on life. And like, you know, a soldier seems well differently usually than, you know, a scribe, or, you know, some researcher, academic, whatever. It's, yeah, there's people are different, and that's why that's why like the, you know, this classical liberalism, anarchist stuff, it just don't work. Like, we need a hierarchy that works, and I don't know, maybe like now that Trump is the king of the world, the God Emperor, of the universe. Maybe, I guess we will see if the world will be start turning into some sort of hierarchy that works, like not just, well, I don't want him really to become the emperor of the world, but like in each country, if like it's like sets a good example for the rest of the world. And we because there's like the expression like know your place, and I think it's important. Like nowadays is of course it's racist to call that know your place. Like if you if you are a baker and all you know about is like how to bake bread, but suddenly you're supposed to know how to run a country, or I don't know, like do brain surgery, and that's just retarded.